In the final race scene of The Incredibles, there is a detail most people completely miss. Dash, the boy with the superpower of speed, is running against ordinary kids. And he is not just faster. He is so far beyond them that the comparison almost doesn't make sense. But as he runs, he glances at his father in the stands, and his father gives him one clear, quiet gesture. At first, Dash is confused. Why would you hold back something you have? Why would you hide what you are capable of? And then, slowly, he understands. He crosses the finish line in second place, close enough to belong, far enough from first to raise no suspicion. He competed, he felt it, and he walked away with something far more valuable than a ribbon. He walked away invisible. Now, here is the question that scene has always made me ask. Why do so few adults ever learn what that child figured out on a running track? Because what Dash learned that day is one of the most sophisticated things a person can understand about power, about intelligence, and about how the world actually works. It is not about what you have. It is about knowing when to use it. And those are two completely different things. Think about the people you know who always need to be the smartest in the room. The ones who correct others mid-sentence, who find a way to make every conversation circle back to their own credentials, their own achievements, their own opinions. There is something almost painful about watching it, because what they are actually doing, in trying so hard to appear powerful, is revealing the one thing they are trying to hide, that they are not sure. Real confidence does not announce itself. It does not need the room to validate it. It already knows what it knows, and that knowledge is entirely internal, entirely stable, entirely unaffected by whether anyone else sees it or agrees with it. The person who constantly needs to prove they are the best is still operating from a place of fear. Fear that if they stop performing, no one will believe the performance anymore. The person who has nothing to prove has already settled the question inside themselves, where it actually lives. There's an idea in Sun Tzu's Art of War that has survived 2,500 years for a reason. He wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." This is not about deception for its own sake. It is about understanding something profound about how power actually moves in the world. When you reveal everything you are capable of, you become a target. People calibrate against you. They prepare for you. They resent you. They work to limit you. But when you are underestimated, when people have not yet taken the full measure of what you carry, you move freely. You observe more than you were observed. You learn the room before the room has learned you. Being underestimated is not a disadvantage. In the hands of someone who understands it, it is one of the most powerful positions you can occupy. Consider what history's most effective strategists understood intuitively. It was never the loudest general who won the war. It was the one who knew what the enemy did not know they knew. The information asymmetry, the gap between what you understand and what others believe you understand, is where real leverage lives. Now think about a more everyday example. You start a new job. You are, in several ways, more capable than the people around you. More experienced, faster, sharper. You can see the inefficiencies that have calcified over years because no one thought to question them. What do most people do in this situation? They show it immediately. They correct processes in week one. They make suggestions that implicitly highlight what was wrong before they arrived. They establish, loudly and quickly, that they are capable. And what happens? The people around them, especially those above them, close. They become defensive. They protect their territory. What was meant as contribution lands as threat. The same capability, handled differently, produces an entirely different result. The person who holds back in month one, who watches, listens, asks questions they already know the answers to, is not being dishonest. They are being strategic. They are choosing when to release what they carry. And in doing so, they shape how it lands. Capability without timing is just noise. There is something else worth understanding here, and it is perhaps the most counterintuitive part of all of this. The act of not needing to prove yourself, genuinely not needing it, not as a performance of restraint, but as an actual internal state, is itself the clearest signal of real strength, because you cannot fake that kind of stillness. Not for long, not under pressure. The person who stays quiet when baited, who does not reach for the last word, who lets a mischaracterization sit without correcting it. That person communicates something that no amount of credential broadcasting can achieve. They communicate that they know something the room does not. And that quiet knowing is magnetic in a way that loud proving never is. This is also why the most respected people in any field are rarely the ones who talk most about their expertise. They talk about the work, about the problems, about what they still don't understand. And in doing so, they reveal a depth that the people performing expertise cannot touch. The mask of constant competence is exhausting to maintain, and its edges always show. Real mastery, by contrast, is relaxed. It has nothing to defend because it is not performing. It simply is. None of this is an argument for permanently hiding what you are. That would be its own kind of distortion. The goal is not to become invisible. The goal is to become intentional, to know the difference between a moment that calls for everything you have and a moment that calls for patience, for observation, for letting the situation develop before you reveal your hand. Dash did not stop running forever. He simply learned that the track is not always the right place to show what he was made of. And the moment he understood that, the moment he internalized that his power belonged to him and not to whoever happened to be watching, he became something far more dangerous than the fastest kid in the race. He became someone who chose. That is what separates the person who has power from the person who is controlled by it. Choice. The quiet, unhurried, completely internal choice of when and how and whether at all. In a world that rewards performance, that celebrates the loudest, the most visible, the most constantly impressive, learning to hold something back is a radical act. It says, I know what I carry, and I do not need you to confirm it. That is not arrogance. That is the rarest kind of freedom. This is mind in the margins, where the most interesting ideas live just outside the lines. Subscribe, and every week we will keep going deeper into the psychology and philosophy that most people never slow down enough to find. I will see you in the margins.